Untitled Common Council regularly scheduled meeting for February 20th, 2021 will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call.
First District Councilwoman Monica Gonzalez. Here. Second District Councilman Lenny Fiscal.
Present.
Third District Councilman Terrence Hill.
Present, and on record, I will apologize to what I said in the public. So let you know, I did receive it last week, but I couldn't find it, so I sincerely apologize, Robert, in the public.
Fourth District Councilwoman Stacy Winfield.
Present.
Fifth District Councilman Robert Garcia.
Present.
Sixth District Councilwoman Gilda Orange.
Present.
Councilman at Large Dwayne Ransomberg.
Present.
Councilman at Large Kenneth Monroe.
Present.
Council President Emiliano Perez.
President, I would like to take a moment and see, is Pastor Johnny Bonilla here yet? Pastor Johnny Bonilla was scheduled to do our opening prayer. I'm going to ask James Portalatin to lead us in prayer to open the session. Please rise.
Heavenly Father, we come before you, Lord. We ask you that you be amongst us, Lord, that you continue to bless, Lord, the city, that you continue to bless our mayor, our council, and everyone, Lord. I especially pray, Lord, for our Officer Sanchez today, Lord. I pray that you are there, Lord, Father, and our police officers, our firemen, and everyone, Lord. I ask you that you continue to protect us, to help us, Lord, and everything that we do, speak today may be, Lord, in wisdom today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, James. Minutes?
We don't have it.
Communications from the mayor.
I have a letter that the mayor submitted. I will read it. East Chicago Common Council, communications from the mayor. Dear Honorable Mayor, members of the Common Council, at this moment and during these troubling times, I ask the executive and legislative branches come together on one accord and have a moment of silence for Officer Jeffrey Sanchez and his family for his full recovery. We ask for continued prayers for Officer Sanchez and his family. On January 25th, 2021, the Common Council passed Ordinance 21-0001 on third and final reading, which, among other things, had the effect of canceling the city budget for fiscal year 2021, which had been passed by the Honorable Body. Several council members cited as their reasoning for support of this action a lack of transparency over the process of the engagement of contractual services by the various city departments. As has been stated on every occasion related to the issue of transparency by my administration, we have been transparent and every contract is available for the council and the public. While some council members have expressed that they would like the publicly available contracts information to be presented by the council on a department by department and project-by-project basis. To do so would circumvent the statutory purpose of the Board of Public Works and again effectively render moot the painstaking budget process that is undertaken each time. I invite the Council Finance Committee at the full council to return to this process for the 2021 budget process. As a part of the regular annual budget process, I assure that every department head made themselves available to meet with the Common Council Finance Committee to discuss their department's budget and upcoming projects. The department heads have presentations at scheduled meetings with the Council Finance Committee. Committee members asked questions and department heads provided follow-up information until the council members were comfortable with each department's budget and the projects and the related contracts that were part of that budget. This has been and was the regular process until very recently. Ordinance 21-0001 runs the risk of severely handicapping the city operations, where council members have stated a willingness to approve additional appropriation ordinance to fund contracts. This process will be very time-consuming for both the council and the city department heads and other employees who will be involved in scheduling the public hearing and doing the additional work to ensure the appropriation ordinances meet legal requirements with the SBOA regulation. The budget process has a built-in mechanism that incorporates cooperation across all levels of government. Ordinance 21-0001 will have the effect of increasing process costs and discouraging trust with our vendor partners. Ordinance 21-001 creates dysfunction as opposed to solution and does nothing for the relationship between the city government and the public that is elected to serve. The additional work to prepare for public hearings legally required for each additional appropriation ordinance for each contract with many projects involving multiple contracts, followed by the process of seeking council approval of each will impede projects and make the city much less efficient. In the 10 plus years that I have honorably served as the Chief Executive Officer for the City of East Chicago, I have increased transparency and employed best practices recommended by the Department of Local Government Finance and the State Board of Accounts. The responsible fiscal management has led to the city having a AAA bonding rating. City services have continually improved under any administration, which improvement is apparent to all. I ask that you allow us all to continue providing needed services to residents in an efficient manner. I also ask that the return to the practice whereby the council schedules meetings with the department heads to discuss pending projects and contracts. Additionally, I invite the council to meet in groups as permitted under Indiana Code IC 5-14-1.5-3.1. For these reasons, I veto Ordinance 21-0001 and respectfully ask that the honorable bodies apply due consideration to the lasting and maybe unintended consequences of its actions by this measure. I ask that you allow this veto to stand. Sincerely, Anthony Copeland.
Thank you very much. Communication from department heads.
I'm sorry. Had to catch my breath. Accounts payable warrant 011521 CB 011521CC, 011921CC, 020821LA, 020821CC.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. President.
So moved by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Garcia,
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
No.
Monroe,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Payroll warrant biweekly 020521 and 012221. Payroll warrant monthly 020121.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Any questions on the motion? Roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Gonzalez?
Yes.
Franciski?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransford?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
I have first up Sandra Favero, Chief of Staff.
If I may, Sandra, can we allow the chief to go first so that we can get him out of here? We know what's happened in his department. And then if you don't have a problem with it, we'll let Natalie go second. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Chief?
I'll let you know when you got one.
Chief, before you start, you got any updates you can provide that are public that you may give us on the officer's condition?
He's doing better than yesterday. He's still critical, but in stable condition. That's all we know at this time. They're not letting anybody up there. No families allowed. So as they let the family know, they let me know, and that's how we're moving forward at this time.
I'm sure I speak for the whole council, and our prayers are with you, with your department, and with the officer in question. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Hector is our Chief of Police. With all the recent news about carjackings and crime in general, I cannot stress enough the negative impact zeroing out my contractual budget would be. Not only to me as a department, but to the citizens of East Chicago. Just last week, we had a pursuit in our city from Chicago. The offenders are suspected of breaking into a train and shooting at the officers as they were fleeing. Thanks to one of the many tools that we use each and every day, they were able to track one of the suspect vehicles and bring the chase to an end with no injuries. Now more than ever, I believe we cannot be lax in our patrols or crime-fighting techniques. The LPR, or license plate reader system, is instrumental when it comes to keeping the citizens of East Chicago safe. We know who is entering and exiting the city. We have stationary cameras and mobile units out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, gathering information. An interruption in that system could cost us losing a case, or even more importantly, someone's life. I have to be able to pay the subscription fee along with maintaining the service agreement in case something breaks or malfunctions, so we don't have a lapse in coverage. Another factor that comes to mind is the towing or moving of vehicles due to the snow. So as of recently, all the snowfall that we had, Public Works has been working around the clock to clean up the streets and to clear emergency routes for first responders. In the past, the city had an agreement with the tow companies that if we had to move a vehicle for snow removal, they would tow it, move it, do the cleaning, and then put the vehicle back in place, and they would take care of the bill. Now the city will be unable to pay them in a timely manner. Vehicles are not going to be able to be moved so the cleaning can be done, and it's going to make it difficult to navigate down some of the city streets. So I ask you again, please reconsider before zeroing out my contractual budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Lee Adams.
Members of the council, Mr. President, thank you for seeing me out of order. Under the direction of Mayor Copeland, the East Chicago Marina has come a long way over the last 8 years. On the marina side, we have new piers, new boardwalk, added features for water sports. On the beach side, there are concert stages, splash pads, shelters, handicap accessibility. Now, with COVID, things kind of got set back, so we haven't been able to utilize many of those features, but it is our hope and desire to, whether we utilize them this year or the following year, to be able to keep things up at a standard and to continue in the progress that we've made. For our community to realize the full value and potential of many of these elements, there's still work to be done, and zeroing out the gaming budget will heavily impact that. On the marina side, the equipment that we actually move the boats with is many years old. We spend a lot of money just servicing it and band-aiding it and patching it every year to make sure that we are, that it's reliable for us to move very expensive boats. We need new fencing around the perimeter of the entire marina. The fencing there is old. It falls down daily. We just strap it up and patch it together. We have really old heating and cooling systems, so when we do rent our venue space, it's not always reliable. Sometimes we have to refund funds. We have to bring in fans and things when people have rented the space for really important events in their life. In several areas, one of the most important things, several areas of the parking lot need to be repitched per the state. Some of the way that it's running off into the lake is inappropriate. And they've just been kind of giving us a pass, knowing that we're going to look into having that done. On the beach side, we've lost a lot of sand over the past year and a half or so due to corrosion, high winds, high waves. We're trying to identify partners to gain some of that beach back, whether we have to bring in more sand. And it's not just us, it's all up and down Lake Michigan trying to figure out ways to resolve this corrosive issue that we all have going on. And it's going to take a lot of funding to get that done. And for our residents to be able to come out and enjoy the beach more, we would like to include additional amenities that they would be able to realize to just come out and enjoy the water, including seasonal staff. Seasonal staff is really necessary at the beach, trying to make sure that our East Chicago residents come in at the lowest rate possible, come in and are safe and secure, because unfortunately we can't close the beach to certain elements of people, so we need security and we need staff to be able to handle all of that. So we do ask that in your wisdom, if you would look at all of these things, and I know that the marina and the beach and some of the things I'm asking for, they may not seem as an emergency or extreme situations, but the way people have had to stay into their homes this year, people are going to be really ready to get out, and we want to be able to provide them a safe haven within East Chicago to come to. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Natalie. Sandra Favela. Thank you for your patience, Sandra.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of this honorable body. Good evening, those who are on Zoom. Thank you for providing time again for each of the department heads to speak tonight. I just would like to say that we, the members of this council and this mayor's administration, play an essential role in making the city great. We play a big role in planning for making the city services and improvements available in the most efficient and most economical way. Let's start again in 2021 to have meetings, discussions regarding the budgets with each department head to better understand their projects, proposing projects for 2022, and services that the department is responsible for. Let's work together to build a sustainable future for the city of East Chicago and let's set the best standard and serve as a model of great government in Northwest Indiana. So I respectfully request that the council support the mayor's veto. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
may I ask Sandra a question right quick, please?
Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you for attending the meeting. I'm glad you all are here once again. Some of my constituents out in the Valley Park area, we want to know if this summer, can we have some exercise equipment like the other two parks? That's Fiscal bears, Washington had bears. So we here in the Valley Park area, we would like to have us some exercise equipment as well. So if you have to most definitely try to work around, we would most definitely appreciate it.
I will make a note of that. Thank you. And I'll get back with you, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Valdez.
Good evening, council members. You've heard the mayor's letter, and we're going to hear from your department heads. My concern is one of the extreme. When you zero out something, it's so extreme that there's no alternatives. And then I believe that you don't consider the consequences. Now, you could have disputes between each other, but when you do something this extreme, the consequences to your departments, and like I mentioned once before, most of our contracts are small. Most of them start in the end of the year, November, December, and they're work in progress. We're processing payments, we're processing invoices. When you do something this extreme, there's no budget. We can't pay these small vendors. It's almost like when you zero out the warrants and the big problem we had then. I think when you consider something like this, I know you want to catch someone's attention, but you have to consider the consequences. Sometimes if you call my office and say, we're planning to do this, what are the consequences? We can let you know. We could maybe come to a compromise where you don't zero it out completely. You know, something that we negotiate like we're supposed to. So I'm sure you're going to hear from my other colleagues on how it affects their departments. But this is my concern, because when we fall behind, it's like with the warrants. It took us 4 weeks to catch up. You know, my office, and with people being sick and with the COVID, I had some members of my office, we were really behind trying to catch up, getting these checks out. So it affects our image with the city and with our vendors and the outside. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Ms. Diana Burns.
Good evening, Council, Mr. President. Thank you for having us again. Our health department can't function without the help of our other departments. We really cannot. We need the support of every department within the city. I know our task is great. Our task is great right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and we are a very, very small staff. But without my colleagues to help us and to assist us in all of our tasks and endeavors, we're not going to be able to function. It is important for all of us to be able to, get through this. Work collaboratively, and whatever we need to do, as Val said, if we need to come to you and speak to you and work collaboratively to figure out something, it would be in the best interest of not only the departments, but of our community. We're here for our community and to serve our community. So please let us do that at the best possible way that we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. Chief Sena.
Thank you, Council President Perez. Good evening, Anthony Serna, Fire Chief. Good evening, council members that are here and on Zoom. I would just like to say thank you. Thank you to those members who voted. Last meeting, as you know, you're going to be considering overriding the mayor's veto. And I would just ask, you hear all the department heads, you hear everyone speaking. I would just ask that you would understand the cost of zeroing out these budgets, and I think you do, and I appreciate that. And I just want to say thank you and continue to ask that you stand with the reasoning and the understanding that you would not override the mayor's veto. There are so many things that on the fire department alone that are affected contractually, as I said before at the last meeting, which are things that are progressing us forward as we're hiring, as we're continuing to hire, and as we're having our testing coming up this summer. We wouldn't want to hold back on these opportunities for people to become firefighters, and for our firefighters who are currently working to have the advantages of, say, our psychologists. That is part of our contractual services that we rely on in tough times. There's been some things that have happened here lately that I've definitely had my firefighters talk to our psychologists, and we would hate to lose the opportunity to be able to do that if these contracts were zeroed out. And so, again, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the council members who voted and were reasonable. And this evening, as you consider the ordinance 210001, that you would take all these things into consideration that department heads are speaking about this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Patricia Melendez.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Pat Melendez again, Human Resources Interim Director. I'm here to support the mayor's veto. Excuse me? Oh, I'm sorry. I am here to support the mayor's veto and hope that you would reconsider zeroing out the city budget. Human Resources oversees the invoices for the following programs and projects that will be affected by zeroing the city budget. The truancy program. It is more essential than ever to measure attendance and take notice of students that are facing difficulties during this time of uncertainty that we are facing with COVID-19. Even though we have remote learning, we must ensure that students are still learning and staying safe on a daily basis. Our city wellness program. The purpose of this program is to improve employees' health and well-being through preventive care. It is also a vital tool to keep insurance costs down. Our security officers. They perform access control to our building entrance and ensure public safety. They monitor our building to prevent or stop incidents that may occur. We also do human resources, we do background checks. We use this as an additional tool in the hiring process when considering new employees. The above many programs play a vital and essential function for our employees and the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Mr. Kevin Klosik.
Good evening, members of the council. Kevin Klosik, IT Director for the City of New Chicago. And I would just like to briefly touch on what we talked about 2 weeks ago with respect to the IT department. And while zeroing out any contractual funds we have available through gaming would prohibit advancement in maintaining bigger projects that IT kind of works with regards to our 15 miles of fiber optic network through the city and nearly 1,200 security cameras through the city. More importantly to me, as a department head, is zeroing out the funds that are noted to zero out in the general fund, which are my daily operating budget funds. And without that, our day-to-day operations of support for everything from software maintenance to hardware maintenance to communication costs, any delay in any of that would naturally bring down the operations of the department. And so I would like for you to reconsider the importance of the IT department maintaining a day-to-day budget, more so in the general fund or the operating budget of our daily operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Mr. James Portalatin.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. James Portalatin, Chicago Building Commissioner, requesting your support for the building department and asking you to reconsider your decision of zeroing out the contractual services budget. As mentioned at the last council meeting, this would greatly affect the building department. At the last council meeting, I mentioned a few addresses we are in the process of bidding out for demolition. However, there's a lot that needs to take place to demolish a building, all of which would be paid using contractual services. Expenses for a successful demolition include, but are not limited to, legal services, publication of notices to bid, asbestos surveys, asbestos abatement, demolition of the structure, change orders that may arise for unexpected items, site installation, and the recording of the liens. Without a budget for contractual service, none of this would occur, thus hampering the building department to effectively perform the duties that we are tasked to do so. Without contractual services, also, phase ones would not be able to be completed for any proposed development, both for commercial and new housing, such as proposed development in West Calumet, but not limited to. The city owns several lots and parcels. Can you imagine development on all these parcels? It definitely would be, it's definitely a good time to be in the city, and I can envision development going on. Lastly, in addition to these items, the building department relies on contractual services to fund software such as Concrete for our code enforcement division. Without said program, a notice of violations will not be sent out to the owners who have violated an ordinance. When complaints are received for debris, litter, weeds, code enforcement will not be able to respond to the complaint effectively, and notices will not be sent to the owners to remediate the situation. This will greatly affect the city, as we pride ourselves in doing all we can do to make the city a cleaner and safer place to live. After working so hard to finally have a program of this magnitude that allows us to modernize our procedure, with inspectors having their iPads in hand while on the field entering violations in real time, your decision today can greatly hinder our process. I take it that each of my companions and I can go on in expressing how zeroing out the budget for contractual services would negatively impact each of our departments. I echo the sentiment that is before you today. Let us work together, not against each other. So I would respectfully request that you reconsider your decision of zeroing out the budget for contractual services and allow us to perform our duties for the betterment of the city. Thank you for your time and your attention in this matter. Have a good night.
Thank you, James. Dr. Satterwhite.
Good evening, President, City Council member. As I said last time, this is the great moments because, utility department budget or daily operations is based on what we receive from water and sanitary bills. With this pandemic nationwide, all the utilities department revenue is lost by around 30%. It depends on the cities. Most of our projects, especially the one that they are sanitary ones, they are related with other departments, especially engineering department. So we having the funds from application from engineering department to our project. So we are directly impacted by any cut of the budget. We, as a city, we are working for the residents, commercial, industrial, so we should be like one hand. Because, as you know, other cities, city council, mayor office, and department, they are working towards, right now, the cities are shifting to smart cities and intelligent utilities. So I'm appreciating and I'm asking that you can revise your ordinance so we can provide because as you know, department utilities, they have many constraints. We have quality assurance. We have compliance with the state, federal. So then we need to have like a stress-free environment to the one that they are coming to work. So as I said, I would appreciate you can review your ordinance so we can work for the city so we can prosper. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doc. Dan Harvey.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here to inform you that water filtration and wastewater and storm water look to seek funding from the city to perform much needed upgrades to enhance operation. Some of this project, one of them is the dewiring the elevator tank, which is providing pump and mixer. Also looking for future for water modules for membranes. And for the wastewater, we're looking for generators and switch gears and MCCs and PLCs. And also, you are using UAV lighting. I asked the councilor to consider decision on moving forward with ordinance 21-001. Ready?
Thank you. Ms. Rena Guzman.
Before I start, Council President, is it okay if, once I finish, if I don't take up my time, if I can have distribution Supervisor Edwardson speak on
Sure,
behalf?
so long as it's with your
Please?
time, yep.
Yes, okay, thank
Absolutely,
you.
thank you.
Good evening, council members and council president. For the record, Rena Guzman, Water Department Director. I come before you again, along with my fellow department heads, to express concerns with this council moving forward with its ordinance reducing the various departmental budget appropriations for the year 2021. The Water Department related request, basically for Water Department requests, Basically, I've received 3 screenings or approval levels. This council, the Board of Public Works, and then the Waterworks Board, which means several meetings and weeks before approval is granted for funding. Once again, if we are required to present a request for funding before this council, it is anticipated that this will be an extended or prolonged request process. Previously, at the time warrants and payments were delayed by this council, contractors refused services and questioned as to whether they should proceed with services and when they anticipated receiving payments. These were valid concerns, obviously. I foresee many concerns and questions arising again if this ordinance moves forward. This may also affect contractors and vendors not wanting to conduct business with the city because of uncertainty or be hesitant on bidding on city projects. Not to mention how this will affect the department's moving timely on much needed improvements and the overall city's progress. We all want to continue to see progress to improve our city and not delay the same. I do not believe the administration failed to establish a current need for the various appropriations. On the contrary, the mayor has displayed the need to continue improving our city. This administration's accomplishments have exceeded many expectations, as we all know, from major road improvements, home improvements, programs, new developments, business facade programs to park improvements. In closing, I again respectfully request that this council seriously consider their decision and the consequences if said ordinance is passed. And thank you very much, and I'd like to see if Ed will come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Lena. Hello, Mr. President, City Council members, present and on Zoom. My name is Edward Santon. I am the relatively new district supervisor for the city of East Chicago. I have a tremendous task in providing safe drinking water to the city of East Chicago. Part of that task involves having appropriate funding so we can do our job safely and correctly for the entire city. Rena's been very supportive, along with the mayor and staff, in implementing quite a few new projects concerning water main improvements, valve improvements, hydrant improvements, and various work according to that work that we do here. We're responsible for just under 7,000 water meters, 650 fire hydrants, over 1,200 valves in the water main system. We have pipes ranging from 36 inches in diameter to 4 inches in diameter. Over 90 miles of water main we maintain. So any kind of burden or restriction on the operations and maintenance of taking care of our city would be a tremendous problem for me as this supervisor. So we would ask that you reconsider your ordinance and vetoing out all these line items. I understand we get our money and help from the riverboat funding line item. Any sort of restriction will hit our operations and maintaining a good quality water system for the city of East Chicago, and we're doing our best to keep that. Pardon me? Yeah, thank you. We're doing our best to keep the system in good shape. And I'm always open for phone calls, so if there's any questions regarding anything we're doing, please feel free to call me. Thank you, Mr. President and Board.
Thank you very much. Douglas Powers.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for having me today. So I know the last meeting I had mentioned some of the ideas as to what it is that the Planning and Economic Development Departments are proceeding in the upcoming year. However, there's a few other things that I would like to mention and reiterate. So the Planning and Economic Development, basically, what are we doing regarding the approval of commercial developments, selling of lots, those types of nature. Very little of that actually happens just because of the Economic and Planning Department. It is contingent upon all the other departments. For example, the Tech Committee, consisting of Building Department, Health, Redevelopment, Sanitary, Water, and so forth, they all have to work with us to be able to help us make these developments happen, including the property inquiries. If someone's trying to purchase a property, a lot of that ends up going through redevelopment. Any permits, obviously, are going through, the Building Department. We're reviewing them as well. So what I'm really trying to say is that, the line items, I don't have a lot of actual accounts that, I can reiterate that would, be affected by this. However, for the department to be successful, it needs, assistance from those other departments. So if it's negatively impacting them, it would negatively impact the Planning and Economic Development as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Vanessa Hernandez-Orange.
Sorry. This doesn't want to work. Good evening to our council members on Zoom also. Once again, I stand here before you asking you to rethink your position on zeroing out budgets and supporting the mayor veto. By not supporting our community, we'll suffer. Our jobs will become more challenging as we will now be held several weeks behind when emergencies occur. Now we have to ease a community concern when we have phone calls of complaints not getting done at parks or recreation facilities. I sat before the Finance Committee with the budget for our department for the year and discussed what we would like to do. I want to give you a brief description of the emergencies that occurred within the past 2 weeks at the Park Recreation Department, including today. Heaters in the greenhouse did not work. We have a broken window. Lights are not working outside our warming shelter, and today the heater is broken in our office. How will we get these items fixed? We would usually call a company. Then we would get it fixed, because we have a budgeted amount with companies for emergencies that we never know when they will occur. Now the process would be to come before council to ask for approval to fix emergencies. How would you feel as a community member if your favorite thing in the parks couldn't get fixed till 4 weeks later? After all these meetings that we are going to have to go through, how does the department work effectively and efficiently when their finances are in limbo? Once again, I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm simply asking you, representatives of our community, to look at the bigger picture of how your decision affects your community of over 30,000 for a conflict among a small group. Thank you.
Thank you. Keith Selvey.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members. I stand before you to speak on the negative impact of daily operations if this particular ordinance 2021-1 passes. The defunding of contractual services will cause a major interruption in services and repairs we provide. As I expressed in the last council meeting, the passing of this ordinance will severely hinder my ability to react to the unexpected. I mentioned a few of the services that will be affected, such as heating. Vanessa is actually one of the locations that we had to send some people out to today. Electrical repairs, the purchasing of pothole patch, sidewalk salt, and most importantly, citywide vehicle repair. As I touched on before, to come before you folks and ask for additional appropriations would add approximately 6 to 8 weeks to a process that in most cases is time sensitive and demands immediate response. I strongly ask this council to reconsider moving forward with the passing of this particular ordinance, if not for the sake of the administration, but for the sake of our City of East Chicago residents, which it can potentially affect. Thank you.
Thank you. William Allen. Good evening, William. And you have Doug with you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. You got 5 minutes.
William Allen, city engineer, with me, Doug Cunningham, city project manager. Starting off saying, let's not take a step in the wrong direction by zeroing out the budgets. This will create a lot of unnecessary steps and will impede progress. The engineering department needs money for construction projects and maintenance within the public right-of-way. We already have a working process for planning and executing projects. Information on projects are made available to the public, and anyone is more than willing to attend the board meetings. These projects are and always will be for the people of East Chicago. Projects like Guthrie, for example, which Doug Cunningham will quickly give an update on.
Thank you, William.
Doug Cunningham, city project manager. I'm going to give you an update on Guthrie Street right now. Guthrie Street with the lighting is about 85%. Sidewalks are at about 45%. Curb and gutter 44. Pavement about 45. Landscaping to 40 to 45. Guthrie Street is about 70% complete. Completion date is 7/21/21. We think we'll be done with all the underground utilities by the middle of March, which to give us the remaining surface work, we're waiting on the frost to get out of the ground, gives us the opportunity to do asphalt in April when the plants open up. So we're well within budget and we're well within our completion date. And that will be a great project for the city of East Chicago and for the residents of Guthrie Street.
Thank you very much, Doug. Mr. Frank Rivera.
Good evening, Mr. President, County Council members, Frank Rivera, Executive Director of Redevelopment Department. I'm here once more, along with my peers, to request the council to reevaluate the ideas of zeroing out the budget. The concept of zero-based budgeting is detrimentally going to hinder all of us from providing and continuing the great services that each of my peers have worked on diligently to accomplish. I personally want to recognize each of my peers' commitment to a thriving and growing city that we have all worked assiduously to achieve and that is founded on the basis of good leadership and a devoted staff to work together for the benefit of our citizens and to induce a greater experience of the quality of life here in Chicago that we all deserve. With zeroing out the budget, we can't be self-assured that the enormous steps taken to produce a quality product will continue. And as my peers have addressed to you, they all will be laden in doing what they do best, and that is to work beyond the expectations that has been bestowed on all of us in serving our community. Yet we know that together, and with your recommendation and support of not zeroing out the budget, that we can continue to strive positively in impacting the lives of our people in East Chicago. On a personal note, the City of East Chicago's Department of Redevelopment, as stated in our previous meetings, will have a difficult time in continuing to provide the quality of service we all deserve and desire in the city. I mentioned 6 topics of importance in our last meeting that was explained to the council and the audience, and it's in written form as requested by the city clerk office via our chief of staff. I've just mentioned the categories again and briefly address the implications that we will be confronting with a zero-based budget, and they are homeowners incentive program. We have 315 closings, expending $3,382,861 since 2012 to 2021. And with the enactment of zero-based budget, it's difficult to say the least as to where we will be at in the future on the number of new families purchasing homes in East Chicago. CDBG and home funds, on the average, East Chicago Department of Redevelopment does about 30 rehabs per year. However, this year, 22 homes have been rehabbed, and this is a respectable number based on the horrid COVID-19 pandemic that deterred our vendors and homeowners from having their homes rehabbed in regards to practicing safe distancing. This fiscal year, the department is highly motivated and completing 35 rehabs, but with zero-based budget, it's too problematic to say where we will be at. Currently, the citywide neighborhood program, ECDR, has 2 projects undergoing construction. 7 projects have been awarded and are in line for construction. 3 homeowners' applications are being processed. In the Calumet neighborhood, we have 17 clients that were delayed from participating in the rehab program because of EPA's Superfund objectives regarding the cleaning up of the soils. Progress is now being made in this neighborhood, and here is a list of categories. 1 project is undergoing construction. 2 projects are awarded and are in line for construction. 4 homeowners' applications are being processed. 4 homeowners were sent a first notification to respond for processing. So the positive light here is that the city is seeing some hope in the Calumet neighborhood, and that it hopefully continues, and that it doesn't stop in regards to a zero-based budget. Here's an opportunity for a community meeting to come together to discuss with the people there in that community to not be afraid to go into the rehab program. There is plenty of dollars here at this point, but with the zero-based budget, I don't know. Both the redevelopment tax increment, finance bonds, and the economic development revenue bonds are current. But who's to say what's going to happen next year? RDA, total project that is completed, and my numbers are different than was reported to you because ours is based on the dollars being turned into us from invoices. Our total project that is completed is 53.4% today and 59% completed by the Regional Development Authority known as RDA. With a zero budget, the remaining project can find itself stagnating or potentially at a standstill. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Homicide Department, we just did a HUD REACT review. It's called the MOR, which is the Management Occupancy Review. Monitoring site visit, we passed the review. The next review will comprise of a full review analysis of any deficiency. My concerns will be if we are zeroed out, who's going to represent the owner and the agent at the entrance and exit review. With the zero budget, things are bound to go wrong at the site. And it's just a matter of time before tenants begin to address their concerns directly to HUD. Who's going to coordinate this process with a zero budget? The Consolidated Annual Performance Plan is a plan that's designed in order for us to have goals and objectives. And it's all tied to the IDIS system, which is a tracking system for dollars being tied to our activity. If we don't make and fit everything within the timeline, which you recall, Mr. President, we had some issues with HUD on our timelines. And we made those timelines because we were on it and seeing everything that was happening. With $0, we're going to have an issue down the road. If you don't do the timelines, got to send that money back. It goes to another jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
You're welcome.
Okay, the committee reports. Any board reports? Ordinance ordinances on sorry.
Raise my hand, I'm sorry, I should have said something.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Henry Rodriguez, council appointee to East Chicago Waterway Management District. I told you last week that I would have a report this week because I forgot my notes. So what we have here is the Corps completed dredging their 2020 season on December 13th. Approximately 126,000 cubic yards of sediment were removed. The total dredging sediment to date is approximately 1.7 million cubic yards. Dredging is scheduled to recommence in 2023 after the Corps adds the second lift to the CDF. Now, the second lift means that they have no more room now, so they're going to raise the walls on the CDF. That's going to take a couple of years. So there'll be no dredging between now and 2023. Okay, remediation of the Lake George Canal East Branch is ongoing. That's the one that's in front of the CDF. The design of a sheet pile wall that will be installed along the canal on the north end of the South Tank Farm is ongoing. A sheet pile wall is the same type of wall that's going to be put on the south side of the canal across from the CDF. The purpose of that is the same kind of sheet pile wall that's there at the CDF, is to prevent the contaminants from the South Tank Farm, other side of the canal, to continue to seep into the canal. So that's what the sheet pile wall, the design is ongoing right now, so we don't have anything on that right now. We're exploring financial opportunities to remediate the entire East Chicago waterway. For additional information and updates, the council is welcome to visit our website at www.in.gov/ECWMB/. That's what I have.
Questions? Councilman Garcia?
No, they have a section for the PCPs and that sort of contaminants. Is that full also?
No, the PCBs are done. They're in there now. There's no more, as far as I know, to dredge.
They're not going to receive no PCPs from out of town?
Pardon?
I know at one time they was talking about bringing some of that.
No, nothing's coming in from out of town as of now. Now, the dredging of the canal, that's going to be ongoing for years. So what happens down the road, we have no idea. Probably not in our lifetime.
So the PCP's portion, is that full or not?
I don't know. If you would call it full, it's going to be covered by other dredging. But it does make that property unusable forever because of that. Can't be redeveloped down the road like they did with the Marsh and Hammond.
Any other questions for Mr. Rodriguez? Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Any ordinances on first reading?
Yes, ordinance 21-0002, sponsored council members Lady Franceschi, Terrence Hill, and Gilda Orange. Additional appropriation ordinance for Roxanna Storm and sanitary sewer lining and Alder Street sewer cleaning and lining. EC General Fund Engineering Department.
Have anyone here to speak on the ordinance? Oh, I'm sorry. You have a motion.
So moved on first.
So moved, Mr. President. So moved from the first and second reading?
Ms. Gilda Orange made the motion. Franceschi with the second.
It's on first and second.
So first and second, yes. Any questions on the motion? Yes, sir. Councilman Garcia.
Just here to give a quick update / reason for requesting the funds. Simply, the money that wasn't spent, by the end of 2020, we're just requesting for the balance of it so that we can continue with the project. So far, for Roxanna, we've cleaned and televised the sewers, both storm and sanitary. We've also replaced sections of sanitary pipe, noticeably off the boulevard.
And also have relined a small portion of pipe. For Alder, we started cleaning and televising south of Broadway and ultimately have reached 145th Street. So far, we've encountered tons of debris and low water flow, which we are addressing as we continue to assess.
Yes, sir, Councilman Garcia.
Additional money you're asking for that we appropriated already?
No, this is just the balance that we did not spend.
Did we appropriate this money already for this
You
project?
did. Well, let me speak there real quick to the council. Council, in the fall, you passed ordinance 20-0023, which was these two projects, Alder and Roxana. They spent some of those dollars. They're coming back to you for the remainder of those dollars. They can't carry forward those dollars if they haven't contracted them already, so they need to ask you for permission to spend them again.
Steve, stay there, please. You know, council people have questions. I have a question, Steve. How is this one is different from the one we passed in 2020?
A couple of very minor differences, Mr. President. When we finally passed this ordinance, you amended the ordinance that was passed to include specific line items and project codes so that the dollars would not be able to be transferred between different projects. You wanted them to be very focused on the Alder project, the Roxana project, the hydraulic study, and the contingency line item. Those are the line items that you called out by specific code in the financial system. You amended that, and I would recommend that you amend again prior to final reading in 2 weeks, or however many weeks that is, before you meet again for the public hearing, with those same line items that were used in the original ordinance.
Thank you, Steve.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we,
Make the amendment. I'm sorry, you make the what?
I make a motion that we change those, like, make those changes to the line.
And itemize them the way they were. We have a motion on the floor to amend the ordinance to include the account fund numbers that were on it when we approved it in 2020. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Gonzalez. Any questions on the motion?
Is somebody, are you also here to speak about that?
If you had any further questions, then we'll ask.
Roll call, please, on the amendment.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Francisci?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransford?
Yes.
Monroe? Monroe?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes. So we have a pass on the amended. Now we're going to entertain a motion to pass the ordinance as amended.
So moved.
You're ready to move first and second.
Councilman Perez, the motion was properly motioned and second. Now you're seeking a roll call vote as amended. No need for another motion. So.
Okay, roll call vote as amended.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Francisci?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransford?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes.
Ordinance 21-0003, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago authorizing the transfer of appropriations into different budget categories of the EC Health Department Fund 0101.
Don't move, Mr. President, first and second.
Second. Motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Orange to be heard on first and second reading. Any questions on the motion? Yes, sir, Councilman Garcia.
Anybody here to talk about these changes? January.
Good evening, Carla Morgan, Corporation Counsel.
Diana Garcia Burns, Director of the Health Department.
Okay, so are there questions or?
Yeah, what are the different budget categories in that line?
So, and forgive me, I don't have a copy. I have the copies on my iPad, but to explain the situation, previously, through a mistake, the previous health officer this is the explanation, okay. So the previous health officer was mistakenly paid through a line item that was for salaries. Now, he was a contractual employee, but as you know, the contract is the operative word. He should have been paid out of the a contractual line item from the health department. So the mistake was caught when you all approved the new health officer. That, you know, there was I guess a payroll action form or some form that would have paid the new health officer the same way. So someone caught that mistake. The dollar amounts are the exact same, but we want to correct the matter. And instead of paying the current health officer out of the salary line, we're asking you all to move the exact, we're asking you to move that amount of $64,890 over to the contractual line item for their department. So the compensation will be exactly the same. The overall budget for the department will be exactly the same. It's just that it will go from an already appropriated salary line item to an already appropriated contractual line item. So does that answer the question?
Did you review that already?
No, this is a good idea. The money's sitting in the wrong line. It should be moved.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Inadvertent mistake. Yes.
I was just going to ask Steve. So now, did she get paid out of the other?
She hasn't been paid.
She hasn't been
Oh, she hasn't got paid yet?
Not since, I
She
think
hasn't
you all,
been paid at all.
right, you all,
For 2 months?
more than 2.
2 more, yeah, since November.
This
Right.
might rise to the level of a request for suspension if you were so inclined.
Right, she began her duties in November, and obviously she's been, you know, because of the COVID emergency, and you all know, we all have an idea how hard Diana's working. When I go over there, it's preposterous how hard Diana's working, but that's another story. So we certainly need a health officer. She's been working without compensation, which isn't fair, but we needed to straighten this problem out. So she's been patient with us, thank God.
And she's working.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other questions? Roll call. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Francisci,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yeah.
Orange,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yeah.
Monroe,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Motion to suspend rules and pass on third and final reading.
So moved. We have a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Orange. Roll call, please.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Francisci,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Rancifer,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes. Do we have a motion to hear it on third and final reading?
So moved, President.
Motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Ms. Orange. Questions on the motion? Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Ransford,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes. Madam Clerk?
We do not have any ordinances on second or third reading.
Thank you.
We do have consideration of ordinance 21-0001 as amended, vetoed by the mayor. Ordinance 21-0001, sponsored council members Emiliano Perez, Monica Gonzalez, and Dwayne Ransford. An ordinance reducing budget year 2021 line item appropriations for various departments in the general fund, motor vehicle highway fund, local road and street fund, parks and recreation fund, house maintenance fund, lakefront allocation area fund, federal grants fund, community development block grant fund, unsafe buildings fund, casino/riverboat fund, state grants fund, local development agreement fund, grants fund, home improvement partnership program fund, redevelopment general fund, county economic development income tax, seated fund, and public works revolving fund.
So moved, Mr. President.
So, motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez.
Point of order, President Perez.
Yes.
So moved, but I would ask Mr. Garcia or Councilman Garcia to detail his motion to override the veto or to not override the veto.
Move on consideration of ordinance 21-0001 as amended, vetoed by the mayor. Override the veto.
Okay, any questions on the motion? Any more questions on the motion? Roll call.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Franciski?
Mute yourself.
Franciski?
No.
Hill?
No.
Winfield?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
No.
Ransford?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Perez?
Yes. Any resolutions, Madam Clerk?
Resolution 21-0001 sponsors Councilman Robert Garcia and Councilman Kenneth Monroe. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago, Indiana, urging Governor Holcomb and the Indiana Department of Health to make teachers and school staff eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Mr. Monroe. Any questions on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Reason this ordinance came up is that right now the governor's order doesn't allow our teachers or school staff to get shots. We want our kids in school as soon as possible. As soon as we can get our kids in school safely, and safely meaning the teachers and school staff getting vaccinated. The sooner we can do that, the sooner we can help our kids out. They've been out a year. I can't imagine going through being a kid, being out of school that long. I know some of our kids had some issues as far as learning, also missing their friends, some mental issues also. But in order for our kids to recover and our economy to recover, we need our kids back in school. And I hope the council supports this so we can ask the governor, let the teachers, and let our staff get vaccinated so we get these kids back in school.
Thank you. Any other questions on the motion? Roll call.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Franciski,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Winfield,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes. Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Lansford,
Yeah.
Monroe,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
you vote for first and second reading on this, or is it too late?
Are you making a motion to suspend the rules? Did you do first and second?
It's a resolution.
Yes, a resolution. We don't need to do all three readings.
Okay, then, I got you. All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir, Councilman Garcia.
The clerk is sending it down to the governor, and also we can send it to our new Congressman Frank Mervan.
Oliva, did you copy? Thank you. Old business. Councilwoman Orange.
Attorney Stratton, I had, went to the clerk's office to get some information. I wanted to know how the votes went for the redevelopment department. And they told me that they would take the, request, but it would be sent to you, and you would be the one to answer that. We never had that before when a council person wanted some information, so I'm trying to figure out how this works.
Yeah, if you need any information that's in possession of this council that I have, you can simply just call me. Any type of request under the Indiana Access to Public Records submitted to the clerk is a records request to that agency, in that department, which is the clerk's office, and they would need to respond. So they forwarded it to me, and I directed them to that since it's submitted to that office, they need to respond on behalf of the clerk's office. If you need anything from me, just give me a call, send me an email, and I'll give you all the documents that we have regarding any type of thing.
When we have the votes like that, we never voted like this before last year. It was the first year. Usually we voted in the open because I always thought the votes for council people had to be out in the open. It doesn't make any difference who you vote for. If you say that you're going to support a person, then that's who you support, and we've always done that. And then last year it changed. The thing of it is, it should have been all done by email, so there was a record. Because when I talked to the clerk, who is now the new trustee, he said that there was not some people called, so they didn't really have a record like that. They called, and then some people emailed. The only ones they have an actual record is an email. So everything needs to be done in email so there is transparency, because they're always talking about transparency here on this council. So it is transparent, so that if somebody goes back and say, well, 5 people say they voted for this one person, and then all of a sudden they only get so many votes, then we know that votes are correct. I'm not trusting nothing at this, like Councilman Perez had said one time, that we don't trust each other, and this is one thing I'm not trusting. So I think in the future, when we do these things, if you're going to do them all by email, or you're going to do it in the public, because that's where we've always been. Thank you.
Councilman Garcia.
That's why I stay up here.
Yeah.
I asked you to make a request for some information, and they turned us down, correct?
There was a couple of requests for information made on your behalf to certain departments within the administration, and they've turned us down, yes.
I just wanted you to talk about the latest one.
The latest one was the fire department one seeking shifts, and there was one also, another one. There was the clock-in records requested by you to the fire department was denied, citing personal information, employment records. I responded to counsel for the mayor requesting a clarification of her support under Indiana law that supports her contention that providing information to anybody on this council would be disclosing that information outside of the city. Although your 9 members solely can't act alone, you're still part of the city, you're a co-equal branch of that department, so of the mayor. So I asked for that. There's been no response or acknowledgement of my email. We await. One thing I would recommend to this council under Indiana Code 36453, subsection 3, is that this council act as a body and majority. Under that subsection, this council can request information to the mayor, and the mayor shall provide that information. So if any information is requested, and there's letters from the mayor on the zeroing out of the budget, he points you guys to certain links that are available, publicly available documents, and he states that you requesting contracts from the body Board of Public Works circumvents their authority. That's absolutely false. If this council passes a motion with majority vote requesting every single contract and document that anything dealing with the affairs of the city, he shall give it to you under Indiana Code. So it's my legal advice to you, Mr. Garcia and Councilman Garcia, that we no longer act under one sole council member's request, that we put it in front of the council at a meeting and pass those motions. So we are in a better standing to get documents that this council needs to conduct the business.
Thank you. Further, I just want to make another invitation. Steve, you're making a request in November, correct? So which one is this? $2,000.
Is this the FOB basketball?
Yeah. We haven't got that information correct.
That is correct. We have not received the federal grant information.
And I also sent a public letter request on your behalf, Mr. Garcia, on the same topic with no response.
The reason I bring that up is that here, I asked for documentation, I don't get it. I continue to stonewall. I just asked for the information on the grant. And I should be provided that information. That's the only question.
So, Mr. Garcia, this would be the time you would ask for us to vote to request your documents as a body. Is it not, Council?
Well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna talk to my colleague one-on-one before I make the motion.
Okay. All right, any other business? I just would like to make a comment. I know it's difficult for other department heads to come out here in this weather and have to come up here and tell us your struggles in your department, what the zeroing out is going to do to you. A lot of you left at the last meeting when I pointed out that the budgets that many of you gave us during our time together were not the budget that was submitted by the administration at the end. Number one. Number two, all they got to do, all we're asking for is exactly what you provided today verbally. You have contractual services in police department, and you got Spillman, and you want to highlight Spot Shotter, and you want to highlight, and give us a ballpark, and you tell us where that money is going. And you would get unanimous approval on this council. We will not allow someone to strap a suicide vest around them and say, we're going to shut the city down if you don't give us a blank check for $38 million. That I will not support. And that is in essence what the mayor is doing. He's saying we're not going to plow, we're not going to be able to provide health services. Here, you need money for plowing? You should have submitted it a week ago at the last meeting and do the additional appropriation. It would have been approved today. Okay? The bottom line is you guys are caught in the middle, but this is all about the council knowing what it's being asked to appropriate. We can't have these catch-all $4 million contractual services, and we're supposed to approve it. That's not good enough. That's on my part. Thank you. Public expression. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Garcia.
Just to piggyback on your comments there, today ordinance 21-0003, reference to health department, was before us on first reading. We passed it on third and final reading. This council has no issue when stuff comes before us and is transparent. We passed it on third and final reading. If something comes up, we will pass it. We will pass it. So that's just an example that I keep on hearing it's going to take a long time. It's not going to take a long time. It's not. One more thing, Mr. President. Blighted buildings. That's not going to stop. Last meeting, we just passed $773,000 on blighted buildings that was not done in 2020. So that's not done from week to week. There's so many stuff that goes process that's into that. It's not going to be done. You can get that done, that list, all that work will be done, and you get paid with no problem. That's all, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Orange.
Okay, so I think that most of the department heads were saying about the emergencies. It's not about the health department came up. She hadn't been paid since November, which I'm sure that she wanted to be paid, but evidently she didn't need the money as bad, so they came this time and she got paid. But the thing of it is that I think that the rest of the department heads are saying we have emergencies every day. They can't wait for 2 weeks to come back. This is a moot point since you guys already zeroed it out. Like I said, I will be making that sign to put in front of my house because I don't want my constituents calling me, asking me why this isn't done. And that's done because y'all got a personal fight with the mayor, because that's what it boils down to. Personal things, and we are all, as council members, getting caught up in it. The department heads are getting caught up in it, and the citizens is getting caught up in it on a personal fight because either y'all want to be mayor, or y'all mad at the mayor, or he won't talk to you, so you're going to turn around and then I'm going to show him, and it's not right. You guys have put this council in the middle of stuff that people can't even answer. Because now in 2 more weeks, you already talked on this subject, 2 more weeks for something to go through. It's shameful. It's just shameful.
Any other new business? Councilman Garcia.
It's shameful to say that we're putting people in the middle. They got votes. We've got 6 votes. 6 councilmen voted on this issue here. There's nothing that going to stop this process. This process is going to continue going on. But what really hurts me is that he has put the department heads in the middle. He could have talked to us a long time ago. Matter of fact, had you guys talked in the last meeting, and he came and talked to us. Is he too good to come to this chamber or what? Is he too good to meet with us and talk to us? Because that's what I think. Because he hasn't came. He don't want to talk to us. Why? Don't know why. It behooves me. I don't know why. But it is a disrespect here, the finance chair, I think since July, he hasn't talked to him, Steve, and not a word. Not a word. The council has tried. We haven't put no way.
Any other council person? And I'd like to give my second time up. I'm going to share with you a letter I sent to the mayor after the last council meeting. We read his letters. I don't typically read mine, they're confidential, but I'm going to read you a letter that I direct to be sent to the mayor after the last council meeting. Mayor, I am writing to both summarize the last year of challenging communications and propose a way forward for both the executive branch and the East Chicago City Council, fiscal branches of the East Chicago governing body. You will recall that we requested in multiple memos and emails during the summer and fall of 2020 that the executive branch provide more detail for large catch-all type items like contractual services. We were frustrated to not receive responses from the Controller's office or your office on any of these requests. As a fiscal body, it's my opinion that we have not just the right but the duty to know what the city's monies will be spent for. We agree that Indiana's Gateway prior year audit, claims list, and other data will help us understand past spending. Where we beg to differ is that all of these sources of information look backwards, and we want to be more accountable and look forward towards planned spending. Prior to giving a blank check to the executive branch, there were also unfortunate disagreements over litigation expenses, location of council meetings, the department work schedules, and how to best interact with department heads. I have no doubt that these skirmishes added to the tension and lack of communication between our branches of government. As the line of department heads approached the podium on Monday night, it occurred to me that specific projects and contracts that they were bringing to our attention are important. It was not the intention of the Finance Committee to propose eliminating the ability to pay bills or to shut down ShotSpotter, the police academy, emergency water line breaks, security breaches. We don't have enough information from the controller or from you to know where these important and recurring contracts and projects reside. We just don't know. A few times, anecdotally of course, we were informed by department heads that the meetings seemed superfluous. Why meet with the council and talk about projects or capital spending or contracts when the budget that is presented does not reflect the actual department plans? There was some interference in the administration's position in that with the departments. We will be told that they have to spend in January or February, and it may not align with what they told the council. This causes us to wonder if there isn't any better way for us to move forward where we work more collaboratively in the summer. We still request that the administration provide detailed line item budgets in the future. Contractual services line items in excess of $4 million with little or no detail feel like a mockery to the process. Each of these department heads could prepare details of their important recurring contracts and projects. So I ask, in the interest of the follow-up to their presentation, that you allow them to prepare a written detail to the regular and planned expenses that they will incur in 2021 by February 15th, 2021. Second, we will ask that the department budget meetings in the summer be attended by representatives of the mayor's office with sufficient authority to interact on the actual intentions of the administration, so that there is no comfort that those meetings weren't merely a charade, but constitute budget planning together between the both branches. And last, although there has been great tension throughout 2020, I'd like to propose that we alleviate some of that by setting monthly meetings between you as mayor, myself as council president, a time to reduce tension, to build collaboration on those things that we agree about, and at least better understand each other on the things that we don't. Will you agree to meet starting the first week of February? I look forward to governing together in 2021 with less tension
and more collaboration. That was sent out 2 weeks ago Monday. No response. So this isn't that the council's coming here to take your money or to do. If we don't get cooperation when they are asking us to give them the money, approve the money, the appropriating process, that's the only time we have a say-so. Once we appropriate it, it's gone. So that's what this is about. So while they sent you up here, all the things you guys are saying are important. They are important. But there's no reason you can't put together a budget that tells us that you need additional appropriation for $200,000 for truck repairs. Nothing. Nothing stops you from doing that, and it'll be approved up here. But they put it all in a catch bag called contractual services. They make it $4 million total, and then they want us to approve it. I'm proud of this council. For the first time, they've taken a position that that will not be allowed. Public expression. Henry Rodriguez.
Henry Rodriguez, 4933 Indianapolis Boulevard. I'm going to read some excerpts out of a past council meeting. This is in response to a comment that was made concerning the mayor at the last council meeting by a member of this council. I've done my due diligence. You should do yours. I'm going to mention names because it's in the minutes. Councilman Santos, how much of the city's money we transfer from our gaming fund are you going to come back before the city council? James Bennett, yes. We have set aside what will be an additional appropriation, which hopefully will come right after the adoption of the budget. There's $5 million that we requested from gaming. Available gaming money we set aside from last year, knowing we're going to have to use it. So we'll come back for additional appropriations from gaming for $5 million. Moving on. Councilman Santos, what plans did the city controller take to make sure we do not add any more taxation on the citizens of East Chicago? How much money of the gaming money did we use last year to shore up the budget? Jim Bennett, $11 million. James Bennett, we set aside $8 million in here. I mean, next year at some point there will have to be a reduction as well, and you will have to find other revenues, sources or something. And those people that can explain better, it's better explain that you can do some things to make up. There are some things we're going to have to look at which may not further tax people. Councilwoman Maldonado. At the Finance Committee meeting, you stated that we were approximately $15 million in the red. James Bennett. So are we in that position or not? Yes, we have a shortfall, so we are $15 million in the red, the deficit. I do not understand. On one hand, you were saying we're $15 million in the hole. On the other hand, we're saying we're posting jobs, 5% cash back. Councilman Garcia. Excuse me. I think we have to be realistic, as unfortunate that we are in this position. The budget comes to us, the interim mayor. After Saturday, we'll have a new mayor, and we will have to take the bull by the horn. We're going to have to work with the mayor, because he is faced with some hard decisions. This is in response to Councilman Garcia saying the mayor was a liar, and they were saying we were $15 million in the hole. But we were right here, and he was there.
Thank you. Vanessa Hernandez Orange.
Once again, good evening to everyone. I'm here as a resident of the city of East Chicago, asking for transparency from the council, as well as a concerned applicant for the position of the redevelopment board. On January 11th, the council approved 2 individuals for redevelopment board to be the representatives. The votes were not done in public. Sorry, because that gets me every time. They were not done in the public meeting. Votes had to be either called in or mailed in. How is that being transparent? How do we know that I didn't call in for a council member to give them my vote? Did you record the conversation? Because of the lack of transparency, I went to the clerk's office and filled out a FOIA to request individual votes. It was not until my second email to the clerk's office, 14-ish days later, that I received a letter from Council Attorney Mr. Estrada, not from the clerk's office, giving me the same information from the meeting. The names of the individuals that applied and not the council members' individual votes. With that, I would like to say thank you to the council members that have shown me transparency with their vote. I do ask everyone to keep the same practice in regards to transparency. Do not ask for something if you are not willing to do it yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Motion made by Councilman Garcia. And seconded by Mr. Monroe. Roll call.
Gonzalez? Gonzalez? Yes.
I can't hardly hear you.
Roll call.
You guys hold it down, please.
Yes.
I can't hear the clerk's office.
You guys gotta mute yourself.
Krasinski?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Winfield?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Ransomford?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Payday for that
Perez?
question.
Huh?
It's a payday for that.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's.
Again.